All right. I would love to introduce Gene Noble. I would love to introduce you guys to Mr. Gene Noble, singer-songwriter. Hey, Gene.
What up, Candace? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank
Great.
you. Good to see you. As you
Likewise.
can see, we are in a room full of very curious singer-songwriters, performers, and very excited to hear from you. Um, just to introduce you guys to Gene, Gene is a singer-songwriter, vocalist, performer. I'm going to allow him to dive a little bit more into him and his background and who he is, but let's show a little bit of love for Gene and welcome him to the platform.
What up, y'all? Okay, so yeah, I mean, she said it. I'm a singer songwriter. I'm originally from New York. I grew up in Long Island, and I grew up on the New York music scene. I kind of came out of Village Underground. I don't know if you guys are too young to know about that, but Village Underground was like an open mic jam kind of, and that's where I came out of. I started first writing. I wrote early on for a lot of projects, and that was a era when all the labels were closing down and everybody was like, you know, sort of joining together and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of the earlier stuff didn't end up getting out into the world. And that kind of threw me off at first because I was just like, is this what it is? But as time went on, building relationships, I started to get more placements. Obviously, I was really just originally just trying to sing my own music and perform my own music and playing piano everywhere and singing everywhere myself. And then I kind of just started to catch wind and start working with a lot of different artists. But some artists that I've written for is Chris Brown, Faith Evans, Jason Derulo, Zendaya, myself. I've toured with Chris Brown and Usher and Sting and Jay-Z and what I say, Chris Brown, Usher, Sting, Jay-Z, Shaggy, a bunch of different people, as well as having my own top 20 Billboard song that I wrote myself, called Matching Tattoos, and just constantly still collaborating and working. I'm currently touring with Jill Scott. I'm doing her summer tour this year. Y'all may have seen me on Tiny Desk with Flo earlier in the year. And just, getting in where I fit in. I'm also working on the new Flo album. That's pretty much me. That's where it starts at.
As we continue to flow in this conversation, this is an opportunity for you guys to learn from Gene. So if you're curious about anything, drop your questions in the chat because I would rather refer to your questions than to refer to the basic questions that we have. Oh, we have a question from Giovanni already. Let's hear from you.
Hi. I think I may have seen you before, so it's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again.
I'm very impressed by your resume and touring. I've wanted to sing background vocals for a long time, and I'm so in the dark in terms of how do I connect with people? What is the proper channels? I know it's more so who you know, and obviously being able to do the job. But yeah, like how do I start?
Where are you from?
Oh, I'm in LA.
Oh, okay. You got it easy. Okay.
Well,
LA.
not really.
Okay, so there's a wealth of artists and
Mhm.
bands and musicians and venues and open jams and things like that in LA. So you just basically have to get out and hustle. All you got to do is start going to events, start tagging along with artists, singing. Sometimes you got to sing background for free or for cheap. Just to get out there and get your name out there. Link up with different people who have house bands at events. If you see events where there's one band and one group of singers for the entire night every time they do that event, that's a good group to tap in with because that means they're hiring a core group. And anytime you're with a house band, it's very likely that different artists will poach you from that to sing with them on their own. Collaborate with other upcoming people. That is massively important. If you see somebody who's starting out and doing shows, go sing for them, go link with them, go write with them, go work with them, because that's how y'all elevate. What's cool about, we talk about this all the time in my friend group. My class, my graduating class, we're all elevating to certain positions now where we're able to do certain things, but everybody started out the same way, trying to figure it out. And just, I was literally just going to spots, and anytime I could sign my name and sing or anything like that, I was doing that. And anytime somebody was up singing and I knew the song and there wasn't three people singing, I would jump in a part, and that's how I started kind of making my way in that world.
That's great insight. That's really great insight. Thanks for your question, Gianni. And that's Giovanni. That's what I was saying earlier about your community. When I mentioned your community is your tribe. In the same way that Gene said he just wanted to play with his homies, play with your homies. Look across the people that are in this class are your peers, the ones that you will be building in this industry with. You guys are all interested in singing, songwriting, playing instruments, and touring and all of the things together collectively. You could build the next wave of the music industry based on what Gene just shared. Yeah, we have another question. Jay?
I'm sorry. Yes. Even to piggyback off what Giovanni said. Oh, first, my name is Joshua. It's a pleasure to meet you, Gene. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. To piggyback off her question, opposite side of the country. I stay in Miami. My biggest thing is, do you feel like within your own career, like success wise, you've had more success connecting with people in person when you go to certain open mics and certain like musical events, or like performing on social media, whether you're doing a cover or maybe a remix of something like that, or some like an open verse? Do you feel like what has been like the best form of like getting attention to get into those, like, oh, I'm now a background vocalist for Chris and like Usher and stuff like that?
I mean, I think that's hard to say because I feel like it's all cumulative. Like I think
Mm,
everything connects to the next thing. But what I
yeah.
would say is about online versus in person. In person, you only are connecting with who's in that room, right? And online, you're connecting with an infinite number of people. So, but both are important, especially in this day and age, with just being able to be in person and have someone hear your voice in person. There's nothing like that because obviously we know right now everybody's well practiced, well polished, auto tuned, everything on.
Yeah.
So there is something that happens when you're actually in front of someone and they can hear your raw voice. But I would say there's endless benefit to things that live infinitely online because you never know how far that reach can go. Like I've been in random countries and someone will stop me and be like, "Were you on Terrell Grice show singing?" And I'm like, "How did you even see that here?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was in Brazil the last 10 days and I was on the treadmill in the gym and this guy came up to me with his phone and he was showing me Sting Tiny Desk and he's like, "Is this you?" And I was like, how would that even be a thing? So online you never know how far it's going to go, how many people it's going to reach. But in person is so major key to be dope in person
Mhm.
because I find that even now, like as I'm trying to hire young singers for gigs, by the way, also I'm always looking for singers. So you now can collaborate with me. You can definitely link me in. So I would love to know young singers to refer for things because I feel like I run out of referral people to refer.
Mm,
So by all means, reach out to me. I would love to link on that. But yeah,
definitely.
be dope in person. Be dope in person. That's because the thing about it is when you're singing live, you're not going to have all the effects, all the auto tune, all that. Even if the artist you're singing behind does, you won't have that.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So what I notice is a lot of people have these super well polished videos with auto tune and all these effects on it, and it's like it's hard to tell what they actually sound like. So keep that in mind when you're posting online.
Like, how do you manage keeping your voice healthy on tour and when you're going from place to place? Like, what is your routine with that?
That is a great question, and actually, that's the way when I teach voice, I teach from that perspective of what's actually going to realistically be happening. You're not getting enough sleep. You probably had a couple drinks. You know what I mean? You're probably doing too many shows back to back. All of those things coming into play. Number one, I would say for me is actual hydration and rest. You really can't, make up for that, right? So
Yeah.
one of my tricks on the road, I do a lot of celery juice because it keeps you hydrated. I drink a lot of
Mm,
water. Cardio is your best friend. I don't care if you don't like it. Cardio is your best friend. If you do cardio at any point before you sing, your voice is going to be better than if you don't. If
mm,
you're on the road, that steam room and that sauna, most hotels have them. Steam room and sauna, go downstairs before you go to sound check, steam your voice. That's another thing, great thing to do. I know a lot of people use the straws now to phonate with their voice. Those straws are incredible, and you just want to blow into a straw into a little bit of water and kind of like do scales up and down with your voice. and also realizing that you're a singer. Like I did my first tour with Chris Brown. For me personally, was a vocal disaster to me, but even though they don't think so, I think it was a vocal disaster because I was hanging out with dancers every night, and it's a different
Yeah.
instrument, right? So they can
Mhm.
go to a club, they can go party, they can do this or that, but I got to shut up. I got to go home and I can't drink tonight and all those kinds of things. So it's like you kind of have to, recognize that your instrument is part of your body. So your holistic health is completely connected to the way your voice sounds.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you for your questions. Let's go to Jeffrey. Jeffrey Scott.
Hi, Gene. Big fan.
What's up, Jeffrey?
What's it like doing BGVs, and how has it helped your songwriting in terms of harmonies and vocal stacking when you're doing your own production?
Endless ideas, right? Endless ideas, number one. Number two, the cheat code of being able to tour the world with people who are doing it at such a big level is you get to see what works and what doesn't work. You get to see what a person who doesn't even understand your language sings along to, the things that they think are catchy, the things that, that make them, feel something. So those are things that I take away from it. Also, being a good background singer is also being a good mimic. So it gives you versatility. You learn to change your tone, to change the way you say things or phrase things, because you need to phrase it like the person that you're singing like instead of yourself, right? So all those things are super helpful. And sometimes you push yourself because you're singing a part because that's the part and not necessarily what you would have sung on your own. Like I sing soprano with Jill Scott. Like I would never be singing any of these notes if it wasn't for that voice part. But I also wouldn't be able to sing that voice part if I didn't have to sing that voice part with Lauryn Hill and with Chris Brown. And, so those are the things that strengthen that.
Thank you so much. And then my next question is, I wish I forgot to add. So I'm a student at Berkeley College of Music. So I was
Oh,
wondering,
nice.
what would you say to like somebody who's just starting out? I'm in my second semester here. So and
Congratulations.
currently I'm working like on my album and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking for like a lot of like artist development things. So what are some things that you wish you knew going into the industry that you now know now, and that you can tell future artists what to look for and what to look out for?
Man, it's I feel like it's some aspects of it are completely night and day from when I started out. When I started out, it was very much like you could go to specific studios and tap in with different producers and work with them, and everything was like just kind of organic in that type of a way. Now I feel like the cool thing about this thing is that you don't exactly have to be in LA or New York. You can just be in front of your computer screen and you can get the buzz and you can get the relationships. You can easily DM people, even if some people don't necessarily respond, but they may redirect you to the right person, to talk to for business on their behalf, right? So I think that is one great thing about now is access. You kind of have some sort of access to everybody, and you can certainly tag people and stuff that you'd like to collaborate with. But I would say number one, and more than anything, is this: the one thing I knew to do when I didn't have any relationships is I knew that I could get in front of people and sing and perform and play my piano, and that I would get a reaction out of them. So anytime I could do that, I was doing that. And that was really the cheat code, because you get your chops up, number one, but also every single time you get seen, somebody else is looking. Every time you perform as an audition, every time you're in that environment, be ready to sing, be ready to perform. Have a few songs ready if you're writing songs. All of that stuff is super crucial.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Great question, Jeffrey. Thank you. Let's go to Shreya.
Hi, it's Shreya actually.
Shreya.
No worries.
Yeah.
So I actually had two questions. So I'll ask the first one. So you mentioned earlier that you were working on the new Flow album, which is amazing. I love Flow. So could you share a little bit more about the writing process for like writing for a group where each member has her own like unique style and strength and like vocal tone, and like how you balance that to like highlight those qualities while also like retaining the group identity and like making sure there's a good balance between the three
Sure.
vocalists.
Sure. I think when we did Tiny Desk, we were together for a couple of weeks, which helped me to really understand their voices and then their personalities. So I was able to kind of like be a fly on the wall and understand who they were, who they are as women, and who they are as characters within the group, and who they are as it relates to each other, and then as it relates to like the world, and then of course their vocals, like which part they play, like for instance, Renee's voice is deeper and huskier, but she has all the intricate harmonies because she's singing like the low part. Stella and Georgia are a lot more acrobatic with the way they sing. So it's like you just kind of tap into those things. Another thing that really helps is, like you said, if you're a fan, I'm a fan of flow. So it's easy for me to write from the place of, oh, what do I want them to sing next? Or what do I want them to say next? And that's always a fun time when you're actually a fan, because then you can write from that place. So I mean, I do have little things that are my little signatures that I like to do, and I try to include those if they make sense for different artists. It's definitely about being specific to the artist and feeling out what they do. Like I just told you, I kind of know now what types of songs they like, what type of things they like to sing. Even I kind of know like little go-to runs or go-to things they do. And that definitely helps. And if I wasn't working with them directly, I would have done this research via YouTube, via TikTok, via Instagram, before I wrote songs for them. I would kind of get a sense of what their voices were.
Thank you. That's really helpful to know, because I've written for some groups before, but I've always like had a bit of trouble tapping into each person's identity. And I guess like kind of a follow-up question to this, you mentioned that as a background vocalist, it's really important to be able to blend and kind of mimic the singer that you're singing for. I've almost always like sung just alone, not alongside other people. So do you have any tips on like quickly learning how to blend and how to like mimic them when you don't have a lot of time to like really study them or like learn about their vocal style or like how they sing?
Sure. Well, I think just like we said, if you get a gig tomorrow for artist X, right? The best thing you can do is go listen to the top 5 or top 10 songs on their catalog and pay specific attention to the way they phrase things, the way they say certain words, the way they cut things off, the different ad libs that they do. That's the real thing, is before you start kind of digging in, is just making sure that you can mimic those things. Being a good mimic is being a good background singer. You have to be able to mimic their feel. Now, another thing too is a lot of artists would like for you to have the ability to step forward and do your own thing and have your own identity in those moments too. So it's kind of like a balance, of those two things. Blending, I think that's just all your ear. You just got to trust your ear. But general things that help you blend is, taking your vibrato out of your tone is probably the first step, until you can match your vibrato with whoever you're singing with. And then, like I said, just paying specific attention to the way they phrase things, the way they cut things off, cutting things short if they're supposed to be short, holding things out if they're supposed to be held out. Given the intensity that they're given on certain notes, like if somebody's singing something really strong, you can't come in singing that note false unless they ask for it, but your best bet is to kind of sing it exactly the way that they're singing it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good questions, by the way.
Great questions. Krista?
Hi. Yes, thank you very much for being here. Yes, I wanted to ask you two questions. Like first, like, do you have like any specific brands of like steamers that you recommend? And how do you take care of your diet, like knowing like if you have to travel? Yeah.
I don't have a specific brand of steamer. It can be something as simple as your shower. It can just be your shower. If you like, I like to use essential oils, so eucalyptus and peppermint oil. If I have sinus situations or things in my nose, I'll take cotton balls and put a few dabs of peppermint oil in them and breathe that in with some steam. Clears everything right on up. You're ready to go. Another little trick sometimes caffeine is actually a cheat code if your voice ain't acting correct. If you have a little coffee about 20 minutes, 30 minutes before you sing, works for me. I can't say it for everybody, but that's one of my cheat codes. And on the road, it's really just whatever you would do normally to be healthy is the same thing you would do on the road, right? So a lot of people these days come up with these lists of things you can eat anywhere, right? And it's a lot of the fitness bros online, they have lists of, okay, if you're in a tight situation and you happen to be going to Chick-fil-A, what can you eat there that's still healthy, or what can you eat at this place that's still healthy? So you kind of want to keep those things in mind. Of course, people say avoid dairy, avoid things that create mucus. Anything that's going to create mucus on your cord is going to alter your tone and things like that. So those are things to avoid. Number one is hydration. Number two is don't overdo any excessive fats, any excessive anything, but most importantly is hydration, sleep, cardio, steam your voice. That can pretty much get you through almost anything.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Let's hear from David.
I'm struggling with harmonies, and
Mhm.
I just want to know, as someone who has done both solo and background work, I'm mostly focusing on the solo side. What is your way how you structure your harmonies? Like, what's the baseline for that?
Okay, well, 1 3 5 is basically like church harmony, right? So, right, the basics, that everything's kind of basically that, and then you kind of branch out on that depending on what the vibe is for the song and what the vibe is for what's happening, right? Sometimes it really is about things that are going to not take away from, but accentuate the melody, right? Because the melody is the most important thing. So you want to do things that are going to accentuate that or highlight that, or, really emphasize a thing, and that's, I think the first thing is knowing when to use and when not to use, and when to try something to accent it or not, right? So those are first steps. Harmony is, I learned it in church. I grew up in church. I grew up singing in church. So harmony came very easy to me because that's all you do in church. And I grew up in a church where, they not sitting here teaching you the parts real long. So you better go ahead and figure it out and go on and get it. And you better get it right the first time. So that's how I kind of came up. So now that's very much second nature. In addition to that, I play keys. So that's sort of that. But I would say, do you know when harmonies are wrong?
Kind of, sort of. I kind of know, like, oh, this isn't really match up right because I'm a church boy myself, and then you can tell like when it's right and when it's wrong. But
Yeah.
I guess
But that's everything. You just said it. You can tell when it's right or when it's wrong. Feel over everything. I don't have any kind of a theory to give you that is more important than feel. What feel is the answer to everything. If this note feels right with that note, that's the answer. You know what I'm saying? If this note doesn't feel right with that note, it doesn't matter if it's within the chord structure. It ain't the answer. You know what I'm saying? So the answer is feel. Trust feel over everything. And I think that's what's cool about a lot of the young artists now who don't really necessarily have the technical training musically, but they're just trust and feel. I mean, a lot of them are just turning auto tune on as they record and just singing what feels right, and the tune is catching it in the part of the key that it's supposed to be in. Which, if that's what you do, that's what you do. But it also is showing you, like, feel more importantly than actually knowing, oh, okay, this is the fifth, this is the seventh, this is the ninth. Oh, let me do like a jazz chord here. It's just trust and feel. And that will get you a long way until you know for sure what your go-to method is for how you like to stack harmonies around things.
thank you so much.
No problem.
Awesome. Let's hear from Ariel.
Hi, are you able to see me?
I can
Yeah.
see you.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Hi, Jean. First of all, thank you so much for taking some time out of your very, very busy schedule.
No problem.
Um, so I'm a singer and a songwriter, and I wanted to know your opinions on some background vocal gig things. So as someone who has done some background vocal work, but just small work, I want to do bigger work. I'm wondering if you think it's limiting to prioritize booking session gigs as opposed to touring gigs, because I guess with scheduling and the fact that I'm also an artist, it's a little harder for me to tour. But I was wondering if touring is like the if that's really the end all be all. If you're not touring, then you're going to lose opportunities as a background vocalist. If you're not touring, do people not really want to work with you, or are they not really looking at anyone unless they're touring?
No, there is so many variables. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
number one thing is not to limit yourself. Be open
Mm-hmm.
to all opportunities for you to do
Okay.
your craft in different areas,
Okay.
Via this laptop that I'm talking to you on, I do backgrounds for The Masked Singer. So I
Mm-hmm.
do backgrounds on this computer and email them in, and boom, they're on The Masked Singer.
Okay.
I've done sessions remotely for Disney or for film and TV
Mm-hmm.
things. Now they have this cool new program where I set up my mic and my laptop here, and they can control the session on the other side, push record.
Oh, wow.
We're working in real time. So, I mean, technology is incredible now. But definitely take all the booking stuff. I just did
Okay.
a movie soundtrack.
Mhm.
You can do all the things. There's nothing's going to limit you. And I've also done those things from on the road. The cool
Mhm.
thing about now is you can just email stuff back and forth. So I've been in whichever country, and someone sends me, oh, do me a favor, I need you to sing, put a choir
Mhm.
on this, and I just stand in my room around a microphone and sing all these different notes and send back a choir arrangement from wherever
Yes.
I'm at. So you can kind of, just work different ways. Just don't say no to anything, because you just
Okay.
know what one thing will be the next thing.
Got you. Thank you so much. And I know you mentioned reaching out to you. I'd love to reach out to you more about that at some point. Um,
Cool, Ariel, I will not forget.
yes. And
Well,
I had one more question just about writing camps. Do you think that I'm also interested in writing for other artists more? Um, Are there any writing camps that you can share with us that you've heard of? I know of a couple, but I know a lot of us have had these same questions throughout the last couple of weeks. And if you could shed any light on that as well, that would be awesome.
Where are you based?
I'm based in LA.
Okay, yeah. I mean, LA, pretty much most of the writing camps I know of these days happen in LA. I have mixed feelings about writing camps. Uh,
Okay, do tell.
the best part about writing camps to me is meeting other writers.
mhm.
Okay.
Um, to me, what was cool is going in there, and now I've got the same beat that the next 5 or 6 writers has, and hearing 6 completely different songs that I would have never thought of, come out of these rooms with the same beat. That was always eye opening for me, and it helped me to sharpen my skills. But I remember different writing camps. It's sort of, I don't know. I like the thought behind everybody getting together and collaborating, but sometimes it can be a little weird, the writing camps. But I would say the thing that comes out of it the most is relationships with new producers and relationships with other writers. And I remember I had one song in a writing camp, and it was a writing camp for Amber Riley right after Glee, and
Love her.
camp was Sony, and it was all these writers, and I was in a room with James Fauntleroy, and we were writing together, which was so cool, and all these other people. And ultimately, that whole situation didn't work out. She ended up leaving Sony Music, all of that stuff. But the song that I wrote in that writing camp ended up being for Faith Evans. So I was like, okay, well, that's cool. But also I then had a great relationship after that with James Fauntleroy, who, our only time working together was just this writing camp. So I think that's the thing, is really, you just I can, like, if I had a tree, I could branch everything back to the first thing. Everything goes back to the beginning. So everything is connected. Like, you don't know who you're going to meet in that opportunity, whether it's a producer that likes your tone and is like, dang, you would sound really great with this artist, or any of those types of things. My first LA job was reference singing for Diane Warren. And how that happened is my manager was in a meeting playing my songs for a label, and Diane Warren walked past the door and knocked on the door and said, "Who's singing the song?" And my manager was like, "Oh, my artist is singing the song, and he wrote the song as well." She was like, "Well, do you think he would sing my songs?" And he was like, "I think he probably would." So
Oh my
then I
gosh.
spent the next 2 or 3 years being Diane Warren's reference singer for all her male songs. And even though I wasn't writing, I was sitting with the best writer in the world. And I was like this the whole time, just sponging, just learning, and learning how she thought I should phrase things, or how she wrote, or what her process was, and and of course she's writing these R&B songs. I remember one particular time we were writing for Miguel, another time we were writing for Justin Bieber. And I say we, meaning she was writing, but I was singing the songs. And she would say things like, "How would you phrase this?" Or "How would you say this?" Or how would you? I'm like, look at these plaques on the wall. That, you tell me how to
That's
say
all
it.
you.
But I also thought it was really dope that she understands that I'm probably more tapped into Miguel. I'm probably more tapped into Bieber. Even though she knows what a great song is, I probably will phrase it a little more like they would. So just those types of things, just being open to any, like I said, my manager was trying to sell songs to somebody, and that ended up being my first job in LA, referencing, not even anything to do with my songwriting.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that story.
No problem. No problem.
And I'm going to see Jill Scott this summer, so I'm excited to see what y'all got cooking.
Oh yeah, cool. No, it's gonna be really good. I know they taking phones away, so you ain't gonna have no
Oh,
phone.
I'm so excited for that.
It's gonna be
I'm gonna
great.
get my life. Thank you again.
No problem, Ariel. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you
It's
too.
gonna be it's gonna be good to be in the moment. Ree, let's hear from you. I know you had your hand up earlier, and I see your question in the chat. Ree.
Yes. Hi, nice to meet you. I was wondering if you could talk on like the performance aspect of like background vocals, like particularly live, because I've had some experience doing background vocals, and sometimes like the main artist will like there'll be like a unexpected change in the performance or how they sing that goes against what was rehearsed. And I was just wondering like how you like navigate that, because I always remember like when I was in choir in elementary school, they say like just don't sing but look like you're singing if you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted some more insight on how you present yourself physically on stage, even when there's changes and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because you really end up being a master at the artist. Like you have to study the artist. The artist is almost, sometimes there's intangibles, right? So like when I would tour with Sting, he doesn't really make large gestures about anything. Everything is very small. And so like I would like literally watch the back of his neck and be like, this is the end of the song, or okay, do that again. Like, like just from watching, it really wasn't an actual thing, but I just knew. You learn the artist that you're dealing with. And also, artists tend to be creatures of habit too, the things that they go to or work with, and they may not know in rehearsal that every time they perform it, they're going to want to do this change, but you just got to start peeping that. I think the biggest thing is being malleable. You have to be ready for change. You have to be open to, look, it's going to be different. Things happen. I've been I've been on stage before, and all the Pro Tools went out, all the instruments went out, so it's now a cappella, us and the artist. And it's as many people as your eye can see, and you just gotta figure it out in that moment. So the number one thing is just being confident that you know the song in and out, up and down. If they go over here, you got it. Sometimes you might have to switch a voice part, because the person you're singing with, their voice isn't great today. And you're like, okay, I got you on this one, you take that note, we cool. So I think just really studying the minor nuances of an artist, they kind of will give you that. And it's also okay if you're in rehearsal to kind of ask for some, can we get a cue on this or a big motion on that, and that may come from the musical director. But just kind of like making sure that you're clear on what your expectation is.
Yes. Thank you so much. That was so helpful.
No problem.
Let's hear from Minyan.
Hi, my name is Minyan.
I mean,
Thanks for being here, Jean. I'm from Atlanta. I'm an artist. I mostly do all R&B. My question is, I wanted to know, do you think artists should commit to one sound early, or is it smarter to experiment across genres first, and let the audience respond before locking into a lane? Because I really listen to like a wide range of like music, so sometimes I find it hard for me to kind of pick one genre to really tap into.
I don't think that you have to like pigeonhole yourself into anything. In a lot of cases, you are the common thread between the songs, right? I mean, Beyonce has done everything, right? But she's the common thread. There's never a time where you don't know it's Beyonce. It doesn't matter what she's singing, right? She could sing anything, it's her. Same with Chris Brown. I mean, I think he's got songs that run the gamut. It's all over the place, but you immediately know it's Chris Brown. So he's the through line through it, which you would be in your case, right? So experiment, do as many different things as possible. Find your way. Yes, certainly listen to what people are responding to, or what you start to find as being your sweet spot, or your specific thing, or your sub genre beneath, R&B or soul music. But definitely expand, spread your wings, do as much different things as you feel like, because you're going to tap into something or find something that you wouldn't have found if you didn't.
True. I only asked that because I've seen like a lot of commentary about when you're an upcoming artist, your audience want to know who you are. So it's kind of like if you dibble dabble too much, they're like, whoa, what are we getting from you? Like, what are we like listening to? Like, who are you as an artist? And it's kind of goes back to like finding your niche or like having a specific aesthetic that people can really like connect with. So that's what I
I
was
mean,
asking.
I think you get there. I think you ultimately get there, and sometimes your aesthetic or your niche is that you don't have a niche, right? Sometimes your niche is that you're the one who's going to do the unexpected thing, that we don't know what's going to happen from you next, right? And or now you've locked into and found a sweet spot where you like to be at.
Yes, thank you.
Amazing. Jake.
Hi, Gene. Thank you for talking with us. Everything that you've been saying has just been amazing, truly,
Mhm.
truly amazing. I really do appreciate it. As an independent artist who also kind of has an interest in being a background vocalist for some artists, when you get, I guess, an assignment or when you get placed with an artist, when you get the music, is it sheet music? Is it audio files of your part? Is this like a moment where having music theory is going to be a benefit to you or start learning? How does that kind of play into it? Because I've kind of one who I've had parts sent to me of, hey, this is your part, this is what you're going to sing, but I've also had people send sheet music to me. So I just want to know what's either the staple or if that's just preference.
The one thing about the music industry is there's really no rules. I've had some people have sheet music and expect me to come in sight reading things. I've had people, I've had another singer that's singing with me whisper the part just before we're about to sing the part, so I mean it could be really any variable of those things. I toured with Chris Brown, what, 5 or 6 years, and we almost never had like a proper rehearsal to rehearse parts. It was kind of just get in where you fit in and feel it out. Whereas on the other side with Usher, it's very much more like, no, we kind of have everything mapped out as to what we're gonna do. So it really just depends on the gig. Again, it's really the same advice I was given earlier. Be ready for anything, any variable. You're gonna be stronger, especially if you want to do if you're in LA and you want to do like film and TV stuff, or you want to be in the new next musical, you want to do the music for those, which is extremely lucrative, by the way. That type of stuff you're going to need to sight read. That type of stuff they're going to want to be able to hand you a piece of music and you figure it out really quickly. Now, I don't exactly know this to be true, but I've heard that there's a new program that does sight reading for you, which, I wouldn't be surprised with the way AI is now. So you could just stand there and it does the work for you. But, for those of us that had to learn those skills, sight reading is still something that's important, specifically in LA, specifically within film and TV and doing musicals and things like that. Now, on the other side, if you're doing pop music or something like that, they may just tell you to go to Spotify and push play on said song and learn it that way. And what's also cool is there are apps now where you can pull that song into it and separate the parts and hear all the different vocal parts and now find your part. So it's just being ready for anything. I've had literally every kind of variable happen for me as a backing vocalist.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
No
it. Thank you.
problem.
That's an amazing answer. And I just want to reiterate, it's amazing to use these tools that you have at your hands, but there's nothing beats your own knowledge and your own brain and understanding on how things work musically. So tap into the tools as an additional additive and resource, but do not allow it to lead the quality of your work. So I just wanted to emphasize that.
For sure, because once you are there without it, people are still expecting you to perform at a high level. They're not expecting for you to wait for your signal to come in so you could push the button and you gotta
Mhm.
just go for it. So
Tajiana?
Hi, Jean. My name is Sajiana. I'm a singer and a songwriter. I heard you mention that you had a manager. At what point do you, I guess, like get a manager or decide to have one, or did your manager pick you, or like how did that happen? I'm curious because I don't have a manager, I don't have management, and I kind of feel like, yeah, I don't know at what point would I seek one out, or yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's that part varies. I mean, you can
Mm,
get a manager early on if that person is someone who you think is going to create opportunities for you or help you find opportunities. That would be great. And in other cases, you just work and you kind of know when it's time, or when you
mm,
need, it's out of your reach. The cool thing now is, I find a lot of times these days I'm the one throwing opportunities to my manager that come to me because everybody reaches out on social media and things like that. So that kind of gives you a little leverage to be able to do a lot of stuff yourself. Heck, even, I know the classic thing is creating an assistant or another email or whatever that you can message back and forth and maybe, negotiate things for whatever. But yeah, I think you'll know when it's time to take that on, and certainly you can court management if you see someone that you really are interested in managing you know definitely make your presence known, let them know what you're
mm.
what you're doing and what you would like to do, and see if you guys can collaborate. If they're interested, if they're available, if they're able to do what you would like to do, it could be somebody really cool for you to work with.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. And also, I am interested in background singing as well, so I would love to connect with you.
Yes, please,
However,
please
yes.
let me know. And where are you at located?
I'm in New Jersey, but I'm like 20 minutes from New York.
Nice.
Um,
Okay, I used to
yeah.
live in Jersey City.
Okay, I'm from Newark.
My mom was born in Newark, raised in
Yes. But Taj, by the way, nice to meet you and thank you again.
no problem.
That's a popular question on when's a good time to find a manager is when you have something to manage, because just know that anything that is managed will have to be recouped by the manager. So they're going to have their hands out and expect something from you. And if you don't have a lot to give, then it's probably not the right time to have a manager. So it's just best to gauge that based on what you have to manage.
Yeah, what she said. That's perfect.
I mean, that just kind of summarizes it. Yeah,
Thank you.
of course. Tanya, let's hear from you.
Hey everyone, marketing director with Live Out Live here. Thank you so much, Jean, for
Bro, thanks
being
for
with
having
us. Yeah, of course. I wanted to ask just because a center, like the key thing of our mission is bridging young professionals into the live music space. So this question really like keys in on that. So a lot of young professionals like hold themselves back from cold outreaching. So, like reaching out via social media or like email with well-established music professionals. Probably like because they're intimidated, they probably already think that there's a well-established team where, there's a lot of times there's times where like people have to find other people for certain things. And so, what are ways that young professionals stick out when outreaching that make you want to collaborate with them? So, is it like they send you a deck right away, or how do they organize their messages that stick out to you rather than just being like, hey, you know what I mean? Like a random message.
I mean, I think the first key thing is to be real honest about the way your social media footprint looks. If the person clicks on your page, are they going to know who you are, what you do, what your aspirations are, how you two can collaborate together, right? Because if someone's sending me an email like, oh, I would love to be a background singer for you, the first thing I do is click on their page. And then I'm like, I don't see any singing clips. Okay, so how do I find out what you sound like? You know what I'm saying? And then I'm immediately like, okay, how serious are you if I don't see any singing clips? How serious are you about this? Or how good are you at this if I don't see any singing clips, right? So it's kind of like setting up yourself first to where if you were a person who didn't know anything about yourself and you clicked on your page, would you be like, oh yeah, I want to hire this person for X, Y, and Z? You know what I mean? So that's a kind of like a self-assessment is the first key thing to do. But I would definitely say cold reach out to email. I think Kalani was just saying the other day, she at this level in her career was still DMing people that she wanted to be on her album. She was literally just writing messages like, hey, I have this great song I would love for you to be on. And they were like, yeah, cool, I'll hit you back, So, I mean, I think that is the cool thing about this is we can all reach everybody, I did a cover of Kalani's song, Everything, and someone tagged her in it and she wrote me back, like I did a cover of Mariah Carey's My All and she reposted it on her story, like I had no way of possibly even thinking that they would see it or it would reach them in any way. You know what I'm saying? So but yeah, I DM people, I DM venues, I see people who are at the same level as me and I look at the opportunities that they have. I'll reach out to whoever put that opportunity together and send them my information, and just kind of like, when you're having those conversations, of course, be professional. Of course, show them how it makes sense for them, how it benefits them, because that's the most important thing, right? In the collaboration. And then just make sure you're showing up for yourself in your best light. Make sure you got the clips that you feel like are the strongest representation of you on your page, so that, because that's the first thing everybody's going to do is click on your page. As soon as you send that message, they're going to click on your page to see what you do. And that's going to be the thing that makes the difference.
Thank you.
That's real. That's all really great insight. We're coming down to just a couple more minutes. I just want to just mention a couple things really quickly for housekeeping. We have a feedback form in the chat. Feel free to give your feedback if you enjoy the session. Let us know what you thought so that we can continue to improve these sessions. And also, let's just show some love for Gene. He's just dropping so much knowledge. I didn't even get to any of my questions because you guys had so many questions, and he's been such in a flow state of knowledge and information. And I'm just so grateful, Gene, for you being here and providing insight to these young people.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Candace. And
Of
thanks for
course, of course. Let's hear from Shreya again.
I just have like one last quick question.
no problem.
So my like Instagram, I'm not really on social media much. So it's more like a personal, just like friends and family kind of thing. Would it be worth it to create like a separate artist account and then like build that from the ground up if it has like pretty much no followers, but like I would start posting more of my work and then like hopefully build a fan base? Would that be better, or is it better to like transition a personal one into an artist account?
Absolutely. No, I mean, if you would like to keep the two separate, sure, by all means, keep the two separate. But, put energy into the one that's your professional one. Put some
Okay.
time and attention into it. Make sure it looks up to par. Make sure that you feel like it's a great representation of the work you want to do.
So like a resume or portfolio kind of
Mhm.
level of
Your
polish.
yes, your social media footprint is an audition. I can't tell you. As soon as someone texts me, "Yo, do you have musicians? Do you have singers?" All I do is respond with links to people's social media. That's all I do. And then they go look, and then they say, yes, this one, no, that one, So and it's solely based off of what they go see, So definitely, you want to have a great representation of you online. That is your audition. That's your resume. That's your application. You know what I'm saying? That's all the things these days.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
And I just want to piggyback on one thing. Yes, that is your resume and your forward-facing platform, but in the music industry, you are your own entrepreneur. You are your own business. So how you display yourself on those platforms is displaying what you represent in your business, right? So just know that moving forward, if you work in this industry, you are an independent business.
Absolutely. Yep. And you certainly have to all the time treat yourself that way.
Yes.
I'm even talking about something as simple as, whatever way you want to present yourself, your look wise, if you when you
Mm-hmm.
stepping out, specifically if you're going into the music space, right? Any kind of venue, any kind of thing, put that stuff on that you want to see yourself in, or you want somebody to see you in. That's how you show up for yourself all the time. I make sure that, okay, if I'm going in certain spaces, I look the part. I also warm up before, even if I'm not scheduled to sing, because my friends love a mic toss, love to throw me a mic, but I make sure that if it happens, I'm ready for it.
Amazing. Okay, we're gonna do these last two questions, and then we're gonna ask Gene to drop his information in the chat and show him some love and sign out because we're at time. But let's hear from you, Jay, and then Jake, you're the last question after Jay.
I just wanted to. This has just been so far for me because Chris Brown and Usher are like my two favorite artists. Like, how was that experience like touring with them? And are you gonna be? Do you have any dates upcoming with the R&B tour at all this year?
Okay, so I don't know how much I can say about the R&B tour, but I can say that I've toured with Usher since 2014.
Mhm.
Oh, that's fire, bro.
And I toured with Chris Brown from like 2009 to like 2015-ish. So there was some overlap there. And then I kind of started touring more with Usher. It is an incredible experience. Well, first of all, Usher, I grew up listening to. I went into to that moment like, I already know all these songs. Just tell me which part you want me to sing. And I also knew that our voices, could match similarly in terms of like, our falsetto and the way we do riffs and stuff like that. So, I knew that was a thing. But yeah, I mean, they're the real deal. They're serious business. So it's definitely it's cool to be in that environment with really two of the best that ever did it, and to see their processes and to see the way they approach things. But most importantly, being from my stance, I get to see what works, how people respond to certain things. There's been times where they try to take certain songs out of the set, and I'm like, yo, don't take that out the set. Look at them women out there when you do that song. And they're like, I'm sick of doing this song. I'm telling you, look out there when you do the song. And then they recognize that they need to do that song.
That's fire. That's fire. Thank you so much, man.
Jake.
Okay, so my last question is just what are ways that we could contact you and keep up with you in case we wanted to reach out for opportunities in the background vocalist world, such as myself, but just ways that we can maybe keep in contact with you.
Sure, sure. I put my Instagram in there. DM is an easy way for you guys to hit me, and definitely let me know what city you're in, what voice part you prefer to sing, a little bit about your experience. Heck, I can even give you some feedback on what your pages currently look like, because again, that anybody I'm going to send is going to look at your page first.
Mhm.
So all of that kind of stuff. If you have samples, you could send me links to samples of your music, or of you singing. I know there's a few Atlanta people, there's a bunch of LA people. So, those are two places that I live and am. So it's easy. I think the thing is, for me now, there's been so many opportunities, and I don't have as much of a base for younger singers. So I would love to build with y'all. So that'd be great. And also, I would also like to make myself available. If you have any more questions, feel free. You can always link me, hit me up. I'm easily reachable.
Thanks again. Really appreciate it.
No problem. No problem at all.
Gene, this has been amazing, you guys. Show some love for Gene. Drop him some love.
Appreciate y'all. This was awesome. It's a lot of fun. It's good to sometimes think these things that, in the rapid fire questions. I'm like, this is a good question. It's cool.
Great questions, great answers. Guys, Gene is someone to be studied. His skill set and his talent, go listen to his music, understand all of the things that he talked about through his music, and also tap in with him based on what he shared with you on IG for IG and his DM and whatnot. Send your information, send your questions. Thank you, Gene, for being a mentor today and for dropping so many gems. You guys show love for Gene, and thank you all for being here. Just one last thing, remind you all to fill out the form and let us give us some feedback on what you thought about this session. And I think this is our last session with this group, but I will be back later on this week with a music business session and a production session with a couple of other dope players as well in the music industry.
Thank y'all for having me. Thank you, Candace.
Of course, Gene. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a good afternoon.